Following the Leafs' massive win against the Tampa Bay Lightning in overtime on the backs of William Nylander and Joseph Woll, a big question mark has emerged for Sheldon Keefe and the Toronto Maple Leafs about which goalie they're going to start going forward. So we're going to break that down in this episode of Leafs Digest, and let's just get right into it. Yesterday was a crazy game. If you missed it, we made a video on it yesterday, kind of a post-game reaction type video, and this one's going to be more focused on the goalie tandem. If you missed the game, quick, overview of what happened in the goalie situation. Ilya Samsonov gave up 3 goals in 4 shot attempts very, very early in the first period. He got pulled. Joseph Woll comes in off the bench, ice cold, and does not give up a single goal, going 29 for 29 in saves. What a game for Joseph Woll. And coming into this game, there were even question marks before Samsonov gave up those 3 goals in 4 attempts about who is going to be the Leafs starter going forward. And a lot of Leafs fans were up in arms saying, why is Joseph Woll not already starting for this team? The Leafs are obviously 2-2 coming into this game. They're now 3-2. And Samsonov has not been very good so far, this season with the Leafs. And putting Joseph Woll in, he performed phenomenally last year in the playoffs. He's been a guy who, it might be time that he takes over that goalie spot. And huge shout out again to Matthew Knies and William Nylander for doing what they do. And Knies is a guy who we can make tons of videos about. He's an unbelievable 21-year-old, and I'm super excited to see what he does for the rest of the season. Hopefully he can continue his hot play. But this video is focusing on the goalie situation. Now, first of all, before we get into all of that, let me know in the comment section if you were on the Joseph Woll train, or if you still think that Ilya Samsonov deserves a shot to keep, maybe bounce back from what has been a horrible season for him. But I think I'm on the train. A lot of Leafs fans on Twitter were going absolutely crazy saying, why isn't Joseph Woll starting? And why is Sheldon Keefe keep putting out Ilya Samsonov? And this was before yesterday's game that Ilya Samsonov almost lost the Leafs that game. A couple of defensive collapses that, Samsonov couldn't really do anything about, but 3 goals that early in the game. Luckily, Joseph Woll came and saved the day, and ultimately the Leafs got a huge win against the Lightning in a pretty thriller game for a Saturday night. But looking at what Joseph Woll has done in his NHL career, this year he's been phenomenal. Following yesterday's game, a 1.69 GAA. Last season, 2.16 GAA, a 93 save percentage. He's always been a very, very solid goalie in his limited appearances. He's only played 13 games in the NHL, and he's shown nothing but poise, nothing but dominance in those games. And that's not to mention what he's done in the playoffs as well. We saw it in last season. Look at that stats. Very, very solid stats. NHL playoffs are a different beast. Some goalies crack under the pressure. Some goalies elevate. And he elevated with a 2.43 GAA with a 92 save percentage there. So he's proven time and time again that he can be the goalie to lead this team going forward. The question is, why is Sheldon Keefe continuing to use Ilya Samsonov? And why isn't Joseph Woll being given that chance? And the question is, and the answer is, we don't necessarily know. If you guys think you know the reason, let me know in the comment section below. Obviously, Joseph Woll is younger than Samsonov. Samsonov has a bit more experience, obviously, because Joseph Woll's only played 13 games. But I think there comes a point, especially after yesterday's game, I would be very, very surprised if Joseph Woll does not start the next game. But there has to come a point in this season, very, very soon, where Joseph Woll is named that #1 starter, and he can play himself out of that, starter spot for sure if he doesn't perform very, very well. But you have to at least give him the chance, because he literally single-handedly, obviously Matthew Knies, William Nylander, Max Domi, John Tavares got the OT goal. They were dominant and they helped a lot. But if Joseph Woll didn't shut the door early and late into that first period when the Tampa Bay Lightning had multiple power play attempts, they almost scored a few times. Woll absolutely shut the door. They spoke about it in the period intermissions in the post-game show that it looks like a game that the Lightning were maybe going to win by a hefty sum after the start of that game. Obviously, it was 1-1, then it quickly became 3-1 before they pulled Samsonov. But that could have been a game that really got out of the Leafs' hands, got out of control, and maybe could have turned into a 5-1, 6-1 game, which would have led to the Leafs' 3rd straight loss. Woll comes in and just played his butt off, completely shut the door on the Lightning, who have, I don't need to tell you guys, the Lightning have a lot of, offensive talent on that team. And luckily, Woll was there to save the day today. And Matthew Knies is another guy that you don't even have enough words for Matthew Knies. He's been unbelievable, and I'm really excited to see what he does. He's only 21 years old, so seeing what he does for the rest of his career is going to be wild. And that'll be, again, a video for a whole nother day. But Joseph Woll stood in his head yesterday. And Samsonov is a guy that really, really has not been performing very, very well. You look at his stats. Obviously, he came from Washington a couple years ago. And this season, he has a 83 save percentage with a 4.34 goals against average. And Samsonov has been decent his entire career. Last year, especially 42 games, he had a very, very low goals against average with a 92 save percentage. And that's probably the reason And we all know this. The most likely reason that Sheldon Keefe is continuing to employ Ilya Samsonov is because of that experience. The experience is not even, comparable. 89 games for Samsonov, which still isn't a crazy amount. He's only been in the league for 5 years. When you compare that to Joseph Woll's 13 games, Samsonov has 4 times as many games, and he performed last year very, very, solid, despite some playoff issues that I'm not going to get into today. But Woll's a guy who's performed in the playoffs, especially last year. He showed he has the heart for it. He shows that he's the Leafs goalie of the future if he continues to perform this way. And by Sheldon Keefe continuing to put out Samsonov at a point now where I keep discussing this, he's not even performing, similarly to Joseph Woll. They're both performing on similar levels. Obviously, Samsonov has more experience, and the Leafs are about as win now as it gets. They have all their talent in place to potentially go on a big win streak here, and this might be the season. All of us Leafs fans say that over and over again, but if you're employing Ilya Samsonov, 4 games, he's given up tons of goals, 14 goals in 4 games. He's one of the worst goalie stats-wise right now in the league. Do they try to ride him out again for next game? I would highly, highly doubt it. At the very least, they give Joseph Woll the next start, see what he does, and then from there, you can run away with the goalie spot and have Samsonov as your backup, because Samsonov can be a very, very good backup. They have an okay tandem here in Woll and Samsonov. The question is, which one is going to be your number one? The Leafs goalie situation has been a question mark for a while now, and we're hoping it would be solved. And it could be solved, and is the answer right in front of them with Joseph Woll. We all think so. Leafs fans were up in arms on Twitter. They were going absolutely crazy. Yeah, again, like I said, even before the game. So if this much question mark is happening, I'm sure Keefe was asked about it after the game. And I would be very, very surprised if Joseph Woll is not starting next game. And again, he has a career GAA of 2.28 in 13 games. I don't care how you slice it. That is a phenomenal performance, especially out of a young goalie like Joseph Woll is. And again, this is not hate on Samsonov. Samsonov has done his thing last year. He did his thing in the regular season at the very least through 42 games. But again, he hasn't had a crazy sample size to show that he's an elite goaltender in this league. And you obviously need very, very good goaltending. And at least with Joseph Woll, you have the chance to have an elite goaltender going forward. And it's something the Leafs need to do. And they need to make this change pretty quickly, because if not, we're going to continue to rack up the losses. Obviously, we're 3-2 now. Not a bad position to be in. Not the best position to be in. But maybe if they would have made this Joseph Woll adjustment earlier in the very, very short season, that's only played 5 games, and maybe the Leafs would have won a couple more games. But that's hindsight. There's no need to worry about that. What we can worry about is the fact that Woll shut the door. The Leafs have a huge decision to make, and they need to make it very, very quickly before, obviously saying it's too late this early in the season is pretty pointless to do, but give Woll a chance. If he runs away with it, great. If he struggles, then you can kind of run the goalie tandem of Samsonov and Woll, depending on who's, the hot hand, because the Leafs have the offense to do it. Nylander's been unbelievable this season. Matthew Knies, he's a guy who we need to start talking about more. Talk about not how good he's going to be, but how great he's going to be, being only 21 years of age. And scored his first goal of the regular season as a Maple Leaf last night, which was phenomenal, and he really carried the Leafs to the win alongside Joseph Woll. But that'll wrap up the video. Let me know in the comment section what your thoughts are on this. I want to see Joseph Woll next game. I want to see Joseph Woll going forward until he gives all of us Leafs fans a reason to not start him. But that'll wrap up the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Let me know in the comment section what your thoughts are on this, and I'll respond to as many as I can. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you in the next video.